Welcome to the 15th annual AM Show. My name is Oscar Jordan. I'm a contributing writer to Vintage Guitar Magazine, the best goddamn guitar magazine in the universe. And on behalf of Lonnie Spector and the AM Show, welcome to the Players Paradise panel. Please allow me to introduce, this is like the best lineup we've ever had. Wouldn't you say, Lonnie?
Yes.
Yes. See, he knows what to say. Ladies and gentlemen, it all started, I'm going to get out of this feedback here. It all started with a single note. These men didn't start the fire because it was always burning, since the world was turning. Isn't that right? Okay, very corny. First of all, on the far right, his name is Jeff Coleman. He's a sideman to rock royalty, session cat, band leader, solo artist, placement master, and recording mogul. He's worked with such artists as Patti LaBelle, Glenn Hughes, Alan Parsons, Lyle Lovett, UFO, Steve Walsh, Kansas, and performs with Cosmo Squad and the bombastic Meat Basket. Give him a big hand. Yeah. He's done stuff. He's a great guitar player. I've been following you for years, and I used to come check you out in the Baked Potato, and you just kill. This guy kills. On the other side, I'm jumping around here. Eric Steckel, this guy here, this young man, the shortest one. The shortest man of all. Meet Eric Steckel. Eric is a blues metal stylist, singer, songwriter, producer, recording artist, and multi-instrumentalist. He started out as a 12-year-old prodigy and hasn't stopped performing and recorded with John Mayer and the Blues Breakers. Check his album out from last year, Polyphonic Player. He's a wonderful guitarist. You gotta check him out. Give him a big hand. J.P. Cerrone. That's you. Session guitarist, producer, who's worked with such artists as Buddy Miles, The Babies, and Simon Phillips. He's got a terrific back catalog of stuff, great music. He also performs in a tribute band called the Hendrix Disciples, one of my favorite guitar players. Give it up for J.P. Cerrone. He just returned from a big tour in the UK, and he's ready for some American food. He's an award-winning veteran blues man, session guitarist, and festival touring pro, having worked with people like Albert King, Mick Fleetwood, the Jacksons. Go on YouTube. There's a video of him playing this guitar solo to Beat It behind his back on the Jacksons Victory Tour. Yeah. He was like one of the first guys to cover that solo. Mr. Phil X! He's the raging Canadian.
That didn't even make sense.
Raging. Well, you're different than the rest of them, you know. Session cat, live axe slinger, has recorded and performed with such notable artists as Chris Cornell, Kelly Clarkson, Stuart Copeland, Tommy Lee, and of course the greatest band, Triumph. And that's just the short list. He performs clinics, can be seen on dozens of YouTube channels, including Phil X Fan Club. I suggest you get out of the house, you go see this man live. He's also played with Bon Jovi and Phil X and the Drills. Give it up. Yeah. And then the guy with the other cool hat right over here with the glasses, one of my favorite guitar players, Joe Bonamassa, is the most successful blues artist. Yes, he said it right. I have this thing. I review his albums, and then my editor, they say, hey, you know, they get up. But I'm a big fan. He's one of the most successful blues artists in the universe. He's famous for his to die for gear, rich guitar tones, awesome songs, and ungodly guitar playing. He's brought to the blues to some of the most illustrious stages in the world, has a tremendous catalog of great music, and you would be hard-pressed to find a bad song in his catalog anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Joe Bonamassa. And in the center, Eliot Easton is a founding member of a band that defined an era. The name of that band is The Cars.
Yeah.
They defined an era. Not just a guitar player, he defined an era. They sold millions and millions of albums. They got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and they made a lot of people happy. And much of The Cars' success can be attributed to his hook-laden licks and riffs, and they were all mostly crafted by this man himself. He did it. Easton holds the distinction of bridging the past with the present, crafting tasty guitar lines that have served the song. In the dictionary, there's a photo of himself next to the words taste, style, and artistry. Ladies and gentlemen, Eliott Easton.
Underrated. That's what I was talking
That too. We'll add that too.
You said that.
It's very, very
I
underrated.
don't really know how you can sell 60 million records and, you know, be in so many homes. I feel pretty rated, but that's the underrated guitar player. You've seen that. I don't know.
But the people who know, they know.
I was never marketed as like a guitar hero. I think that's what they're trying to say in The Cars. We didn't have a Slash or anything like that. We're just a band. You know what I mean?
You've been my guitar hero for a long time. Man.
Well, you know, that's part of my first question is that you had this way of crafting very memorable ideas and licks and things that just stick to your ribs through the decades in a time when everyone else was just blowing notes and doing the craziest solos. Can you speak about how you came up in terms of musicianship and how that helped you to think more of as an artist as opposed to a guitar player?
Well, the funny thing about The Cars is it wasn't one of those bands of like 5 guys who went to high school together and all had like the same record collection and like the same bands. We were 5 very different guys who all met in Boston, which everyone knows is a college town. There's people from all over the world that come to Boston. So we were very, very different and very different in our influences. I mean, people will hear in Rick's songs maybe Roxy music or Velvet Underground, things like that, and there's some pop elements, of course. But what I was listening to was, let's see, Otis Rush, Jesse Ed Davis, Mike Bloomfield, Ray Buchanan, Bakersfield Country, Atlantic Soul stuff like Cornell Dupree, Reggie Young, all of the Muscle Shoals guys, James Burton, Clarence White, like not typical, not who you'd think or you'd expect the guitar player in The Cars to be listening to. So it was a kind of a funny, it was that weird recipe that kind of made it work, because maybe without the rock and roll of the guitar, it might have been a little bit too clinical. They might have been Devo, you know. Mm-hmm. So whatever, you know, it was just a unique combination of elements because we're all very different people. And in a funny kind of way, sometimes it was a fight because there'd be elements that I might bring to the band that might help it be successful, but might be another band member's least favorite part.
Yeah.
It's a funny thing, you know, because, you know, I don't have any Velvet Underground or Roxy music albums.
Right. So so sometimes it's like the outside influences.
Yeah.
They come into what you're doing and they improve. Joe, can you speak about some of everyone pretty much knows that you love British and American blues. Do you ever get outside input from some of your other guitar influences and try to add them to your music?
All the time. One of the things I just want to say this up front is today proves that no matter if you play stadiums in front of 90,000 people, I'd like to give it up to Phil X for adjusting the PA.
Thank you.
He's not above tuning a PA at any level, whether it be a stadium in Brazil or at the hotel here in Venice.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you. By the way, listen.
Keep turning it.
We'll be here.
I turn the lowest off.
One of the things you have to understand about being a guitar player is I'm a blues guitar player by trade, but that's not all I listen to. And you'd be very short-sighted if that's all you listen to, because when I come home, I don't listen to blues or blues rock. I listen to like Iron Maiden and Bruce Hornsby and, you know, Alison Krauss and stuff that's outside of what I do for a living, because it permeates into the pores and you become a better musician and a better songwriter for that. You know, one of my favorite bands is Iron Maiden. And you wouldn't think, you know, when you think Joe Bonamassa, you don't think Eddie and Iron Maiden. but some of it actually applies, because when you go to arrange a song or write a song, you go, man, that Iron Maiden thing was cool, and we put that into the blues. And it also goes to exacerbate the harsh criticism I get online every single day about my music, my playing, and my appearance, which is something I relish and I love. And so if I can fuck with people somehow on a daily basis,
they deserve to be fucked with back.
well, exactly. Why wouldn't you?
Right.
You know, music is designed to extract emotion, and if I can get a visceral reaction from people, good and bad, you know, then I'm doing something right. Because nobody's going to like you 100%, and nobody's going to hate you 100%. So if you can play to the extremes, people either love you or hate you, and then they show up to your gigs. And that's one of the things that I've always tried to do. So, sorry.
Phil, can I just, I find it really interesting what Joe just said about what we listen to at home when we're not doing our jobs. It's like, that's what I was trying to say about myself. If you only knew my playing from the cars, you really wouldn't know everything I was into. You know, when I'm home, I listen to Blue Note Jazz or Miles. You know, last night I listened to the Jack Johnson box or Exotica. You know, I like to read a lot, so I don't listen to a lot of vocal music when I'm reading because it's distracting. But it's just interesting, you know, that's kind of like when you come home from work, you want to do something else. It's kind of like a busman's holiday, you know, to sit there to listen to, you know, Eric Clapton all night.
I listen to the Cars.
I listen to the Cars too. I was telling you, right?
I listened to Taj with Jesse Ed last night.
Exactly.
But I think about that often, because when I go home and I put my stereo, I always go somewhere that has nothing to do with guitars. When I hear drummers, I bring, you know, Simon Phillips, Vinny up and everything, and I always go to George Duke. I hear a lot of George Duke and Frank Zappa,
Right.
even though I don't play like that.
Right.
But there is something to get away from what you do, you know what I mean? And listen to those other influences. I feel like that, because somehow it gets inside you just by just absorbing it like that.
How does that filter in, like arranging or kind of building up the songs?
Vocabulary.
Right.
Different rhythms, vocabulary, just more it expands your language, you know. Yeah, so, yeah, I don't listen to guitar players.
I got a deep Rolodex.
Yeah.
Phil, how about you? You play a lot of different kinds of music with a lot of different people. Here's you got one? All right. Give me an idea of what takes you out of your comfort zone to help you inform your songs.
I listen to myself. The funny thing about that is sometimes it's true, because I feel like, you know, when you learn new licks, you leave old licks behind. So when somebody comes up to me and goes, I watch all your Fred and Americana videos, I'm like, me too. And it's because I'll go back 9 years and I'll hear a lick that I, for some reason, forgot. And I go, oh, that's a cool lick, I gotta learn it. And it was me. But, I mean, I love learning stuff, and I still learn, and I've been playing for so long, and yeah, I play just what I needed in a cover band, and learning that solo and nailing it every night is awesome. Because it speaks, right? So we all, and I don't think it's just other music that I listen to, but I listen to other instruments. Like, I'll listen to a sax player, or I'll listen to a piano player, and I'll, like, for instance, at the beginning of Bloody Well Right by Supertramp and the Whirly intro, I learned that on guitar once because I thought it was so amazing, and then I forgot it. But the whole point is that you get so much, like, music is just an incredible thing. It makes you time travel, because you remember, you hear a song, and you remember your first kiss, and I was just in New York and went to see Peter Frampton, and when he started singing the chorus to "No, I Want You," it was "Baby, I Love Your Way." He started singing the chorus, and I was a kid again, listening to AM radio on the driveway in Rexdale, Ontario, freaking out. So music, it just, you get so much from it. It's an important thing to just keep taking it to another place so other people can enjoy it. And I think that's what's really important.
Great. Tell me about, on the same note, I know you play, you're primarily playing blues, but I know you need to hear other things that keep your playing fresh. Do you have outside influences that enhance what you're already doing?
Well, my father was in the military for 30 years, and one of the things he emphasized that I realize now he was actually working on my brothers and myself was exposing us to all sorts of different music. And I mean, man, we were listening to everything from Bedouin tribe music to Eskimo music. I mean, it was just like, what the hell is this? You know, but it actually had a long-term effect in the sense that, yeah, you know, I mean, I play primarily blues and blues rock, but I'm able very easily to incorporate elements that just seem like they're completely not connected to what I do. And those various influences and things that you take in have very strange and odd ways of manifesting. They don't always come in songwriting, they don't always come in guitar playing, they come in different ways, you know, but they're there. And like the rest of these guys, when I'm at home, my listening habits are completely different than my work habits.
Great. Thank you. Jeff, you do a lot of recording. Can you throw out a couple of things that people might be interested in terms of what informs what you do? I know you have to cross the palette of different types of styles to record. What informs what you do?
What informs what I do?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like everybody, the business has changed so much where, you know, you used to go to big recording studios or anybody's 8-track studio to try to make a record. Now anybody can do it in their house or garage or what have you. The one thing I take from all that is when let's say if I was to meet a kid and teach him a lesson, I would say the most important thing is to record yourself and be creative every day. You know, work that muscle. You know, just figure out, you know, when I was 14 years old in 1983, you know, I bought a Fostex X15, you know, little tape recorder. And I found myself writing 2 songs a day, literally like 16 songs a week. Wouldn't take a shower, wouldn't eat, I'd skip meals, but I was finding, you know, my voice as a guitar player, which has completely changed since then because it's been so long. But it's important to have an outlet, like to sit and practice with a metronome, or you have to make it fun. So for me, you know, I saw Eddie Van Halen in '79 sliding towards me with that knee pads playing "I'm the One." It was fuck that, that's what I want to do. You know, so I went to the studio in my basement and just started recording every day. You'd figure out how to put a 57 mic on it, you know, 65 watt Celestion, and find your sound and find your voice. But you need an outlet to do this, because just sitting and practicing or pulling out the real book and trying to learn to sight read and playing Stella by Starlight or whatever, you have to figure out a way to keep it interesting. So I got addicted to recording at an early age, you know, and that would be something I would tell kids to, you know, really exercise that kind of muscle. Because people don't think they're creative until they start creating, you know.
So you want to kind of push the technical side of recording properly and having good sound, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's always, I don't want to I'll clear the room if I start talking about mic pre's and EQs and,
Yeah.
you know, the tech talk it's just a tedious thing you have to go through, but, you know, it's necessary. You know, you have a vision of a sound, whether it be with the guitar or how you record the guitar, and you try to see it through.
Exactly. Eric, how about you? I know you listen to a lot of different things, and I really appreciate the way I actually hear it in your music. You have a lot of different things with heavier rock and blues and even metal stuff. How does that come together for you? And do you ever feel like I'm going too far in the other direction, that I have a bass and I need to stick to that?
Actually, for so many years, as just a blues player, playing Fender amps, Strats, Tube Screamer, kind of a traditional setup, I had this sound in my head and I wasn't getting it. And I was looking around at the community, the blues community, and what guys were playing and what was expected of me to play. What were the typical rigs? You don't normally go to a blues club and see a Diesel or a Wagner or even just lots of gear, you know. And usually you see some pedals, you know. But I was fighting this. I had this sound, even from an early age, because early on it was Gary Moore and Van Halen for me as a kid, those sounds. So like that high gain, warm mid-range, you know, a lot of low end. So I was kind of fighting that for years, and then really it was only in the last 2 years. So even though I've been playing for 20 years, I really only like my tone the last 2 years. Really, no, I can be honest about it, because if I listen to any videos from before that, I feel like I'm fighting it because I didn't have that compression, that gain, that fluidity. So I feel like, yeah, I mean, just from like 2017 on, I feel like, okay, now I feel like I'm doing something that's a little different. I'm actually contributing something to the blues that is a little different. So yeah, I mean, and as far as backlash, I did anticipate there being some when I first kind of did the blues metal thing or whatever. And by the way, that's a facetious, we just kind of jokingly said that and it kind of stuck. Somebody was asking me in an interview, like, you know, can you sum up your sound in just one word? And I really couldn't, but my manager was sitting across, I was on speakerphone, and my manager was in a lazy boy chair across the room, and he yells out, "Blues metal!" And the woman on the other end heard it, and she said, "I'm going with that." And then that was about 2 years ago, and it stuck. But on the last record, I think we found a way to combine, you know, like the heavy guitar tones, but we did like Donny Hathaway ballads on the record. I did It's My Own Fault on the record. So there's like blues material with, you know, I'm playing the piano and the Hammond and keeping it bluesy, but there's like a Diesel Herbert is the amp, you know? So it's just I don't know, just going out on a limb, trying something, and nobody really hated it.
Yeah, it's like ultimately, you know, you have to play to a bass, but you have to be yourself. You have to please yourself, and you have an artistic bent. Yeah. Joe, did you ever feel trapped by your persona in terms of what is expected of you compared to what you would like to do?
No.
No? You enjoy what you're doing?
No. You know, one of the things I'd like to just comment on what Eric said, to be a professional guitar player. Now, there's people that just want to play in their houses and enjoy it, and then there's take it to beyond a hobbyist level where you just go, okay, I want to be out there as a professional. It really is a delicate balance of, oh shucks, you know, when somebody compliments your playing, you go, oh shucks, thank you very much, and you think you suck, and then there's the ego part of it where you go, yeah, I know I'm good. And the confidence that you instill in other people, you know, and the confidence that you have in yourself transcends, and it becomes infectious. And that's why Eric can draw a crowd, and that's why, you know, it's like when he decided to change his sound, he stuck the landing. If you waffle in any way and go, well, I'm not so sure about this, then they're just going to eat you alive. So my hat's off to Eric for sticking the landing on that and going, I don't care what they say about me, this is the sound I hear in my head. As far as the guy in the suit, I'm that guy from 8 o'clock to 10:10. That's a character. That's an extension of my personality. It's not who I am. This is the guy who I am. I'm a guy who spends too much money on a sweatshirt and a t-shirt and some glasses to look really nerdy and unattractive. Okay? And then the guy in the Hugo Boss at 8 o'clock is an extension of my personality. It is a character that I play on stage that comes out at 8 o'clock and goes away at 10:10. Because I don't want to be the guy who just walks around and goes, don't you know who I think I am? Because I think it's really, that's not me. I'm a guitar collector and an enthusiast and just a kid in a 42-year-old body. And that's really all I really want to be. The guy on stage is how I make a living. And I learned over the years how to separate that and build, put a wall and a partition up, because that ultimately keeps you from being just like an out of control narcissist. And one of these days I'll let myself be an out of control narcissist, but not right now.
But you know what? That's why your fans love you so much, because they feel like you're one of them, and they can relate to it, that you're a guitar geek like them and love gear and all that. But you saw your dream and you took it all away, and they can relate on a personal level. Like, if he can do it, maybe there's a chance. And
weird-looking kid from Utica, New York, with a hyperextended jaw line, long Italian last name, not a great singing voice, playing blues rock. The deck is stacked against you.
Get in line.
Yeah, the deck is stacked against you. And that's what you have to understand in 2019, that people have the opportunity now to change their trajectory in the music business by themselves. It's sheer enthusiasm and sheer tenacity that's going to get you there. There's no A&R guy, there's no radio guy, there's no nothing that's going to propel you. It's going to be yourself and your personal initiative that's going to make you change your career. So,
yeah, I think that, but there are some artists who feel trapped by the brand, and they would like to expand outward, and they don't. They want to show more than what they've shown.
I want to shed some light on that, because I feel like when I play with Bon Jovi, I can't go full Phil X, because it doesn't quite fit. So when I do the drills, I can be 110% Phil X, because that's my band, my songs, my lyrics. I can deliver that. I can tell that story. But in Bon Jovi, I'm in the back seat and John's driving. It's that kind of thing. So I think being a chameleon is a great asset to a musician, because you got to sometimes, even in the studio, when I play with Kelly Clarkson, it's a different vibe than playing with Alice Cooper. So you have to be able to fit into that, what's going on. And then when this just happened 2 weeks ago, when I was playing Rock and Rio with Bon Jovi, and we did Always in the encore, and Always has a moment where I can kind of go out and do, it's a ballad, so you can't go too crazy, but the funny thing is that we hadn't played the song in 2 months, so we're in front of 100,000 people, and it's like, oh shit, it's time for the solo. I don't know what I want to say. Meanwhile, my wife is watching it with latency on this, it's streaming on some website, and she's like, oh my God, your Always solo brought me to tears, it was so amazing. And I'm like, you have no idea. When I walked on the catwalk to do that solo, I felt like I was playing Marco Polo. Like, I'm Marco, and I'm waiting for someone to say Polo. Like, I'm blindfolded, I have no idea what I want to say, and it's like, oh, that sucked. Oh, that was terrible. Dude, what are you doing? And then 15 bars into it, okay, that was all right. And another 8 bars up, I don't know what I'm doing. And then I walk on the stage, and people were like, oh my God, that was awesome. I'm like, I wish you could be in my head for 8 minutes while this is going on. And so it still happens. Just letting you know, it happens till you die. Those moments of questions. Is this going good, or is it not going good? And are you taking them on a journey, or are you just going through the motions? So it's one of those things. I'm sure everybody has felt that. So I'm just saying it happens all the time.
Yeah, that was a good point about guitar player versus professional, where that's a big step. I'm wondering, JP, if you could go back in time and meet yourself and say, hey, pull yourself aside and give yourself some pointers about how to be more successful coming up to coach yourself, what would you tell yourself?
You mean more successful financially, you mean? Or
financially, or a better musician, maybe those two go together, but if you could just have a few minutes with yourself, what would you tell yourself?
For me, they didn't go together. For me, financially, if I go back, I would say, stop trying to do your own thing, man, and go join, Alice Cooper, Rod Stewart, because I was asked to go do some of those gigs, back in the 80s. But I had a very successful non-signed band on the Whiskey. I was one of the house band at the Whiskeys. And I try to do my thing. I say, well, why shouldn't I be the next Bon Jovi or something? So if I go back, I would say, just like I tell my students now, I say, man, go join a band, a successful band if you can. Because I remember Derek Sherinian, right, when he came from San Francisco and he didn't know anybody in LA. Derek, the keyboard player from Dream Theater and all that. And he joined my band, first band that he joined. But so we were playing at the Whiskey, the Roxy. And he comes to me and says, JP, this is great, but something? I think I'm going to quit and I'm going to go try to go join somebody so I can make some money. And the next gig he got was Kiss. You know what I mean? And then I think he did Alice Cooper too. And then he became a member of Dream Theater. So every time I see him, I goes, JP, I'm a star now. I say, yeah, you should have learned your lesson. Financially, right?
Right.
Artistically, no. If I go back, I think I did the right thing, man. Because, sometimes when I talk to my fans, their ears go like this, like the dogs, So, well, JP, what did you do when you were a kid? You were learning. And what I did, I made no distinction on music style. So I will wake up one day and learn a Brian Auger song, because I like the solo. So I will learn Brian Auger organ solo. Some other time I will learn a Barbara Streisand Burt Bacharach song, because I like the song. Next time it will be Sam and Dave, and then the next day it will be Pink Floyd. And I will learn everything, man. I will play everything.
Right.
So, and I did that all the way through. To keep myself open like that, so to get more vocabulary within my guitar playing.
Yeah, that would definitely be helpful.
So I turn back and go, good boy, it should be good boy.
Good. Jeff, I know that you started your own record label early on, way early in your career. And that was pretty damn good. That was a very smart move. If you could go back again and say, how would you do it better, how would you do it?
It's interesting because back then, guys like Mike Varney, they were, doing the Shrapnel records, and he offered me deals and these kind of things. And I saw a lot of guys signing record deals for, $10,000, and then he would sell however many records for them. I think Tony McAlpine sold like 100,000 units of, one of his records. So Mike's making all the money. And I realized that right away. He's a great guy, but he's a good businessman too. And I realized early on I could sell records on my own independently and, do what I needed to do and own and control it. And then, licensing deals later on, deals with other territories, and, just keep the business all on your own. And really own and control it. How I would do it different, I don't know. I wouldn't sign a Cherry Lane publishing deal that I signed in like 1992.
Yes, that would be the thing. Don't
There's
sign
always
that deal.
But the thing is, regrets are a waste of time. You can't have regrets. There's always things you go, I should maybe not done that, but done this. I think you're on the right track if you feel like you don't have too many regrets. I mean, I'm completely happy. I'm still in my first marriage. I raised a family, private schools on one income, playing guitar. I'm like, honey, even Steve Vai's wife has a job. Go get a job. So life is good,
That's great. That's great. You made some great moves. You made some great decisions, and it shows.
Yeah.
Greg, how about you? If you could like counsel yourself and put yourself in the chair and say, "Listen here," what would you say to yourself?
I would have gone the create your own label and publishing much earlier once I understood it, because I've had my own label since 1994, and as a result, well, let's go back a little bit. I was part of 3 major record deals: one on Warner Brothers, one on Motown, and the other one on I forget this last label. I always forget it was a Canadian label. Anyway, doesn't matter, because collectively these were all very large deals, and I came out of it with about 35 cents. Okay, so I decided I was going to stop bleeding all over the floor for these people who didn't give a shit what I recorded or what I played, if it didn't suit their purpose. And a lot of it was one of the things that opened my eyes was, the compartmentalization of artists, which I fucking hate. I hate that.
You mean about styles of music?
Okay. From day one, I was the weird little black kid in my neighborhood that liked to plug into Marshalls and blow myself up. That's what I like to do. I didn't want to play fucking Motown. I didn't want to play none of that shit. I wanted to plug into a Marshall stack and blow the dirt out of my clothes if I could. Okay? That's where I was at. And I started my apprenticeship playing mostly rock clubs. Matter of fact, I ran away from the blues as far and as fast as I could until, you know, I got older and I understood how it was all connected. But, you know, you get these record labels, man, and they're coming at you and they're going like, well, I don't know. I think you're a black guy. I think you should kind of emulate Luther. Luther Vandross. Yeah, that's you. I'm sitting here with a stack of Marshalls behind me and a Stratocaster. And I'm going like, I think that might be kind of an awkward fit, you know? So rather than go through all that kind of crap and not make any money, I decided that I would start my own record label and my own publishing company. And as a result, without having to sell a 1/10 of the product that I would have to sell for years to turn a profit, man, I own my own home. I've owned my own home for the last 10 years in one of the most high-dollar neighborhoods in Los Angeles, all by myself, quietly. You know, I've raised a family, just, you know, so put kids through school, you know.
Do your thing.
Doing my thing, and nobody can say shit about it. I advise all the people out here, if you want to take it to the next level, it might be hard to get started, and you might not see a big result right away. But man, if you stick to it and you focus on where you're going and you pay attention, and you have a good business plan, and let's say you start building an audience, man, sky's the limit. Sky's the limit. This is a dirty secret, by the way, that the industry doesn't want anybody to know. And I've heard rumors that they kill people that talk about this kind of stuff. So, anyway.
Yeah, I got you. Eliot, do you have anything? I'm sorry, go ahead.
On a personal thing, if I may, so I want to officially say hi to Craig. I got history with him. And I saw him outside, and me and him, I played lefty backwards, my Strat lefty backwards, right? He's the same, right? And at the time, I was a kid from Canada. Buddy Miles came through, saw me play, and I said, "Jippy, you're coming back to LA. I got a big record deal, Atlantic, blah, blah, blah. So I want you to be my guitar player." So I came down with Buddy. I could barely speak English, man. And now I speak perfect, but this is an Italian microphone, so it's not me. And I remember we started the tour with Buddy, and Craig was there playing with us, and I'm looking at Craig. I was just a kid, and he's playing backward like me. And he's looking at me going, who the hell is this kid that's playing left-handed like this with Buddy, remember? And this is like 40 years ago, and you still remember you got pictured you just told me. So I want to say hi, Craig, for Christ's sake, man. 40 years later, man.
40 years later.
Yeah, we were smoking. He was smoking too, man.
Yeah, we played that.
I want to add that your accent screams Canada.
I am Canadian. I'm Canadian. I mean, I'm Italian, immigrant to Canada with Canadian accent. Oh, how cool. Canada, man. Yeah.
If it was, if you're playing Guess the Accent, Canada just comes out as such
Stop it.
That's great.
Thanks, brother.
Hey, Eliot, you've made some wonderful records, and when I was coming up, I used to listen to you so much. You did so much in terms of the artistry. I always felt like there was something going on beneath the songs, and this is part of your artistry and your choices as an artist. Can you share something about how you were coming up that allowed you to make those kind of choices that would have songs that would stick around so long, and some of your maybe business decisions?
Wow, as far as business decisions, I don't know. But as far as like coming up with parts and all that kind of stuff, what I would generally do, because Roy Thomas Baker, our first producer, started us on those massive stacked vocals, and it was before Pro Tools. and you didn't have unlimited tracks. So we would do basics and then go right into background vocal land. And he had the Stevens 40 track on 2 inches, 40 tracks on a 2-inch tape. Because even syncing 2 machines wasn't really happening yet. And so what would happen is that we do basics, and we do a lot of vocal stuff, and we start doing parts, and I would take cassettes of the basics back to the hotel with me or wherever we're staying, or a house in London or wherever we were, and work on parts on my own. And you know, as far as how, just anything you can draw on from who you are, what you've ever listened to in your life, and something that makes sense and is cogent to the song. So I usually key off the melody a lot, and having grown up on AM pop radio, I really have and was, you know, ingrained into me a strong song sense of a hook, you know, that repeats itself at the end of every chorus that you wait for to come back on a cool guitar lick, and a short solo that doesn't waste any notes, and all the things that I learned on 60s AM radio, which was so diverse. It wasn't just the Beatles and the Stones. It was also Frank Sinatra, you know, Alan Sherman, you know, and anything, you know, whatever. Frank Sinatra, you know, anything could be a hit. You'd hear Strangers in the Night, and then you'd hear a Beatle tune, and it was so healthy that way. It wasn't so compartmentalized. So I just draw it, you know, sucked it up. My mom was a singer, Juilliard trained, and I grew up with music, and just like a sponge. And so when you get in those situations, you just draw on everything on a cellular level that you can think of, that you know, that you are. And as far as those solos, I get, you know, lots of compliments, and it's a blessing, you know, that people still like them or they can whistle them. And because that was always my goal. It was never to play necessarily for a room full of guitar players, but just to play for people and music. And I would, like I said, I would key off the melody a lot. It's you know, you would try to figure out a way into the solo. Like, what's my entry? And that would usually be something, kind of a quote off the melody. And I would do all kinds of things, like sing a solo into a tape recorder and figure out what I just sang. Because your mind is so much freer and you get out of those pentatonic boxes, and you'll do things that'll surprise yourself. Or I would do things like come up with a part and then come up with a harmony to it and then throw away the original part. All kinds of things to just shuffle the deck and break a log jam and have a breakthrough of something that's like an aha moment that, holy shit, this is going to make the song so much better. And come back in the studio the next day with, where you guys hear this, you know, kind of thing. And that was always my goal.
You guys all got that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Would you do anything different?
If that makes any, I would have only got married once.
Yeah.
You know.
And Eric, how many times have you been married?
0.
You know what I like to say, Oscar?
Yeah.
I say, I play for free, I get paid for the other 22 hours. Because even if I wasn't blessed to be so fortunate and make it in the music business, I'd still be playing at the corner bar. Because that's just what I love to do. So that's the end of it.
There you go. That's great advice. You were a prodigy guitar player when you first started, and I'm sure you've had some ups and downs. Was there anything that you would do differently?
Oh, a lot of things. I think, well, I want to first say that, having a great family behind me was super important. I don't mean great like in a rich family, I just mean supportive. I was an only child, so my parents could focus a lot of their time on just making sure I was out there and safe and doing my thing. And my first gig was playing this place called the Blue Tone Cafe in Easton, Pennsylvania, across the street from the prison. So I'm a 9-year-old kid. I'm only 5'5" now. So what was I then? I don't know. And and the guitar is huge. And I'm like playing with an adult drummer and an adult bass player. And I'm in this little corner of this bar, and there's like a beer fridge there. And guys would come in. They'd just get out of prison, or they were or they were going to visit somebody. They'd come in and get a quart of beer, and they'd like walk past the first time, and then they'd look again, do a double take. I'm like, is that a 9-year-old kid playing a Freddie King tune or something at like 2 in the morning at this You know, so that's how I started. And then it just kind of went on like that, got the Mayall thing going, that was cool. But as far as like things I would do differently is just stop trying so fucking hard. For a lot of years I was just trying to look like the guys that were successful, or play the gear of the guys that were successful, or emulate so many people, and it really was just stagnant, and things didn't really start to take off for me until the last 2 or 3 years when I said, okay, you know what, let's just clean the slate, and let's just say, okay, I'm going to play with a shit ton of gain. I'm just going to go and just go for something that I have always loved, because for me it was like hearing that tone on Mean Street. When he hits that open G chord, that was like, at 10 years old, I'm hearing that on my dad's record player going, I don't know what this is, but I want to be a part of this. Whatever the hell this is, I love it. So, and then I got marketed as like a blues kid, you know, because think about it, this was post Stevie Ray Vaughan, this was 90s. So everybody's looking for the next, you know, kid with a musical note strap playing a beat up Strat, you know, and that's not a diss, it's just what the 90s was like in the Wonder Kid sort of thing. So I was kind of pigeonholed in that for a while, and I was doing the blues thing. And guys would tell me like, no, this is what a blues rig is. This is what you play. And then, I know, like I said earlier, it's weird to say this, but in 20 years of playing guitar, I'm only satisfied with my sound, vision, everything, basically since the last record, since 2018, late 2017. I mean, just because I felt like I wasn't trying. I was just like, hey guys, here it is. And that's when things actually worked. Right. So it was like, whoa, a wake-up call of like, you just can't bullshit people. You just gotta be real. You know? So,
right. You gotta be real. I interview a lot of guitar players and talk to a lot of people, and one thing I'm very jealous of is they know who they are. And it was going back to what you were saying, Joe, about you know who you are and you stick to it in professionalism. But I know there's a point in the development where you're kind of a little bit all over the place, and you don't know who you are, and you're trying to say, who am I? When am I going to just say, forget all this other stuff, I'm going to do me? Phil, did you have a moment earlier on where you say, this is me and I'm going to stop doing this, or was it always being eclectic the way you are?
I feel like
you do it in your own band, but I mean...
Yeah, but I feel like we all have our influences, and it's all a big part of what we do. And somebody said, I mean, I know a lot of people say, like, songwriters are like, good songwriters borrow and great songwriters steal, and I think that's bullshit. I think it's all about disguising it. Taking something that you learned and making it yours, and that's how you create your vocabulary of licks that make you an individual. Because I mean, I love watching people on YouTube, and I love seeing something that, okay, this guy's doing this thing on acoustic guitar, and I'm never going to be able to do that. So you keep doing that, and I'll keep doing what I'm doing. But it's the same thing. Like, I think if you're going to put something on YouTube, it has to be very special and have personality. And, you know, because I'm a huge Eddie Van Halen fan, and people are like, hey man, check out this girl, she's 14 and she does Eruption note for note. And I'm like, if she doesn't do a backflip, I don't give a shit. Because I think everybody can kind of do that. I mean, they don't have the same fire that Eddie Van Halen had, but getting it right technically is not that hard. So being an individual is very important, and I forget the question.
You were wafting around, listening to all these cats, and then you found Phil on the guitar.
Yeah, but I think we also lose ourselves sometimes too. Even now, like I'm 53, and I wake up sometimes and I'm like, Who
am I?
Exactly. I do. And then my son reminds me. But it's like, becoming a dad made me a different guitar player, because I don't practice anymore. Ever. So, and then doing clinics again. I mean, I go on the road, and I was talking to Joe about this, you know, we had 5 shows in Brazil, and I hate days off, so I would book clinics in between shows so I could just go out and do more. I love sharing my experience. I love sharing, I do this thing where I do a lick that's a Phil X lick, but I show the origin of the lick so people know, oh, well, I got this. Eddie tapped it, but I found a way to pick it and add a higher note, but this is where it came from. So people get an idea of how this guy comes up with his own stuff. Because I feel like I talk to a lot of guitar players that are starting out, and they don't know how to get out of the copycat stage, and which is very important. Dude. I think I love talking to young players and really giving them a sense of how to create your own style. And I think knowing who you are is important. Losing yourself is also important because then you find yourself again. So
that's good advice. Greg?
One of the things I think that in the digital age is lost is it's just like nothing happening organic anymore. Everybody's like referring to digital media to get their information. But the thing that shaped my personality as a music player is that I served my apprenticeship in the Deep South. Anybody here from the South? Anybody here from the South? No, I'm talking, man. I'm talking deepest, darkest South Louisiana, all that down there around the Gulf. And there's places that you're literally taking your life in your hands. And what a great environment to learn in. Because I'm telling you, you find your personality when some dude pulls back his jacket, he's got a pearl-handled revolver, and he's going like, what the hell you boys getting ready to play? Better not play some bullshit. I got Chuck right here. Play me some shit, boy. And I remember a guy come up to me one night as I was getting my rig together. He comes up, sticks a revolver in my ribs. And I'm just like, looking down, trying not to breathe too hard. And he says, I know you gonna play Johnny B. Good, ain't you? My girlfriend wants to hear Johnny B. Good. And I just went, without doing anything, I just went,
character building.
So those kind of experiences, man, no, man. And you know, that kind of pressure makes you form your personality very quickly. You know, and it's like, okay, I can't bullshit with these people because they'll fucking kill you. You know, so all the cats that come from the South, if you notice, like a lot of Southern-based players, they have a whole lot of conviction very early on. Like you think about early Allman Brothers, those guys were only in their early 20s, but they were playing up a storm. And a lot of that has to do with coming up in the South because they don't bullshit you, man. They don't bullshit with you. And if they love you, they really love you. But I did see a band go on one time. I got the scare of my life. We're in this place on the west bank of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, called the Carousel. And I told somebody, they said, man, where you playing tonight? I said, I'm playing at the Carousel. And they just like, would just walk away like, shit. You know, I don't have the heart to tell him he's probably gonna die tonight. So I'm asking people, I'm going like, man, what the fuck is up with this Carousel place? Oh man, you don't want to play there, man. You know, this is gonna happen, that's gonna happen, and they pay their $5 and just go in and start stabbing people, you know. Really? Why did they have bands? They had 3 bands on that night, and we were supposed to close the night. And just like they said, this place literally was people just getting their hands stamped and just diving in. And you know, it was a free-for-all. And I'm like, man, this is awful. This is terrible. And there was a band on before us, and the crowd hated this band. I mean, hated them. They're flipping them off, and they're throwing cups and glasses and things at them. But what took the cake, and had I not seen this with my own eyes, I wouldn't believe if somebody told me this story. I'm peeking through the curtain, and my band guys are going like, what's going on, man? What's going on? I'm saying like, man, they're throwing shit at these dudes, man. And they're like, a guy comes up and looks like he has a Roman candle. He takes his cigarette and lights the end of the Roman candle. And he goes, "Fuck y'all." And all of a sudden he throws, it's a stick of fucking construction dynamite. It lands, it just goes thud, and the whole place just went, "Ugh!" And it just went dead quiet. And these dudes, including the drummer, did this Olympic caliber leapfrog from behind the kit to the edge of the stage. And just as everybody cleared the stage, it blew up. And when the smoke cleared, there's a big crater in the stage, and the microphone that the lead singer had been holding just a second before had gone through the ceiling styrofoam and was just like...
Talk about pressure. That's good.
So yeah, they kind of make you, those kind of situations will kind of make you form your personality really fast.
Them's dues.
Yeah. It was fun. I wouldn't trade it for anything. And you know, as far as what I would tell my younger self, is I would just say move to the side a little more. Just move out of range. That's what I would tell myself.
Joe, do you have anything to share in regard to starting with your influences and growing and forming your own personality on guitar, your own voice?
Well, to me, it's always been the two Erics, Eric Clapton, Eric Johnson. And if you listen to how I play, it's pretty much derivatives of those two guys. And I've apologized to both of those guys for stealing their stuff. And there's nothing weirder in life than sitting on stage or standing on stage with Eric Clapton at the Royal Albert Hall, trading 4-bar passages, and you're basically throwing back at him what he taught you through his records. It's not lost on me how unoriginal I am. And same thing with Eric Johnson. And I'm like, wow. But what happens is you are an amalgamation of your influences. It all comes in, the input data comes into your mind. You go like, I really dig this, I really dig this guy, I really dig whatever they're doing. And when you're on stage and you're reacting to a band or reacting to a song, those influences come out naturally, and you don't know why you're quoting, you know, but you're quoting. And I don't think any guitar player, maybe with the exception of maybe Jimi Hendrix, but even him, he had influences. There's no immaculate conception. It's like you don't just come out and go, okay, every idea I have is original, every idea that I have is bespoke, not to use a hipster term, but you are just quoting other guitar players in your own personal way. And that's why guitar is so argued about and beloved, because it is tactile. You know, Eliot can play the guitar, hand it to somebody else, and they're going to play it a different way because it's tactile, it's here. I know, Lonnie, you're going to hate me for saying this. You're in the amp show business. You're in the selling gear business to people that are seeking salvation. This is your salvation, okay? This is your salvation, not the gear. Not the gear is a means to an end. It's a statement about who you are and what you do, but also the personality and all the tone comes out of your hands. And the sooner you realize that as a player, the much happier you're going to be, because you'll be able to manifest these sounds that you hear in your mind through anything. You can play through a Strat and make it sound like you. You play through a Gibson, you know, make it sound like you. And that's the most important thing to really take away from just being a guitar player and being an enthusiast. Like, 'cause nobody's here. Nobody's brought a date to this thing today, okay? Because nobody's like, oh, hey, Heather, you want to go to the amp show with me? Okay? Because at the end of the day, this is as geeky as it gets. Heather's hot. She works in HR for, you know, Live Nation. Hey, you want to go on a date with me to the fucking amp show? No! So, at the end of the day, just learn what sounds come out of you first. then use the gear as an extension of that. And that is my Pontificus Maximus statement.
You couldn't have a more profound statement from a guy who owns every desirable piece of gear imaginable. So I'm not trying to be funny. Coming from Joe, that has special meaning because he has all the hammers and paintbrushes he needs, and even Joe says it. You know, you'll find a way to express yourself with whatever you're given. But yeah, plugging a nice guitar into a tweed Bassman is definitely going to be fun. You're going to go, wow, you know. But coming from Joe, it's a pretty amazing statement.
And the other thing is you plug an old guitar into an old amp and you go, wow, it's going to be magic. Or conversely, if you suck, it's going to suck too. You know what I mean? But plugging a brand new guitar into a brand new amp, even a cheap amp, if you have it in you, look, B.B. King used a Lab Series L5. You can buy those amps at a guitar show for $250 if you want to lug them out the front door. He played and he hit one note, and whether it be an arena or a big theater, it bloomed, and you go, it's B.B. King. And it's not the gear, it's you. And I learned that watching Clapton, I learned that watching B.B. King, I learned that watching all my favorite players, Albert King. And look, I mean, look at this dais. I mean, everybody here can play the same guitar and the same amp and make it sound diametrically opposed to one another. And that's the beauty of guitar playing more than anything, you know. And the collection is what I do in lieu of hard drugs. You know.
That's a good choice that you had made.
Oscar, I just want to make a final statement about all this discussion about creating your own style. I don't think it's necessarily something you need to really concern yourself about. Just listen to everything you can. Learn everything that appeals to you, that you love, and then forget it all. And you'll just draw on it. Those will be your influences, and you'll make something of your own from it. So you can't help it because you've got a different nervous system than all the guys you learn from. So it'll be you.
Yes. We're going to open it up to some questions out here. If you guys have any questions, we only have we're almost done, so we're going to have some quick questions, and then we're going to move it along. Anybody have any questions? Yes, sir.
So Eliott, huge fan of your playing. Creating a statement that you can sing along to and take you on a journey that you might not expect in a pop vehicle that's an understated talent. You know, it's one thing to be able to improv and rip. Like, out of all the stuff you've done, do you have a favorite? Like, if you could play somebody who's never heard you before, this is the song that I'm most proud of. Rhythm guitar part, like, what would it be? Or no, I mean anything. Like, what your favorite? Like,
you know, I like the solo in Touch and Go, and Tonight She Comes was a good one. You know, I got to tell you, I'm so nuts with this stuff that if I went home from the studio on an evening and there was one tiny thing that bothered me, I'd hardly be able to sleep that night. If I get back into the studio the next day to fix it. So, you know, it's all pretty much what I want it to be. I'm proud of all of them, but you know, those stand out. I guess people like Just When I Needed You, Best Friend's Girl. People connect with. I always had a lot of fun playing You're All I Got Tonight on stage because that was when I could stretch out because it was my little and dangerous type little jamming spots in the show. But generally, I stuck to the record because they were 3.5-minute pop songs, and I felt that for an audience going to all that trouble to come, it would be much more satisfying, and to see the smile on their faces when you play it just like the record, and it's a challenging solo, and you do it for them, and they love that. And I just say to myself, well, what are the chances that I'm going to wing something better than what I worked for hours on and sat and massaged to death, you know? So I just always did that, and a lot of bands I love did the same thing, and I think that's, in some way, in that kind of format of a pop song, is part of the song and kind of what people want to hear.
Another question? Yes, sir?
You mentioned that you had a fight for some of the leads and some of the ideas. Can you give us an example of one that you thought?
Well, Touch and Go, for sure. I had constructed what I thought was this super cool, like perfect little solo, Steely Dan-ish, like just nailed you know, some unusual note choices. I was really proud of it and I'd been working on it in the hotel. I got to the studio and I played it and they started the table, there was silence. And I thought they were just going to be jumping up and down. And Roy or somebody said, "You got anything else?" I crafted this thing, and it's the solo you hear on the record. So they said, "Can you try another approach?" We got to the point where we were trying to make a 6-string bass Wichita lineman solo out of it. And me being a lefty, I was playing Ben's Precision to a twin with reverb and tremolo. I finally got so frustrated, I'm in tears practically. I said, "Look, guys, you just got to let me put this solo down one more time. I know it's the solo." I was freaked. All the blood went to my feet. So I was angry and upset. I grabbed the guitar, I ripped it off in one take. And you go, "That's what we're looking for." It sounded too thought out and planned out before. And it was the same notes, but it had attitude. I was pissed, man. I was picking harmonics and just digging in and just fuck you, you know. And that was the tape.
One last question, folks. Over there in the end. Last question.
This is for Joe. So as you go through your career and you check off all the boxes, you know, signature amps and Red Rocks and Albert Hall, and where do you see, as you check those boxes now, looking forward, what boxes do you look forward to?
You know, I mean, for me, it's if I could, I always looked at, I was like, what's the difference between a great guitar player and a great artist? Songs. And if I can get more songs and work on songwriting and really perfect that, or at least get it as good as I'm going to be able to do. I'm never going to be able to write on the level of an Eliot or Eric Clapton or, you know, any of these guys. It just, that's the thing, and if I can just keep doing that, and I go out there every night and I play guitar with bad intentions to a bunch of people that like it, and you know, it used to really bug me that, you know, like you read these comments online and Bonamassa this and all that and it used to bug me. It's like, man, these people are really taking time out of their day to really like just try to tear you down. And then I look out and I see 2 sold-out nights at Red Rocks and I go, somebody likes this stuff. And if you're more comfortable with yourself and you just charity starts at home, and you just go, listen, I'm just gonna try to write the best songs I can, play the best gigs I can. And if I can keep doing that, and I have a sell-by date. I'm out of here on my 50th anniversary of my first gig, which is 30 years this November. So 20 years from this November, when I'm 62 years old, I'm out of here. I'm not gonna be a lifer and tour until I'm 90, which everybody thinks. And if I can just keep doing it on a high level and you know, stress quality over quantity, then I'm okay. And those are my goals. And just do it in an honest way. Because you can't change anything about yourself, especially now. So, and by the way, that guy wires my signature amps, by the way. He wires my Tweet Twins over at Fender. So thank you for the question, and thank you for the quality.
Thank you, everybody. Give everybody a big hand. Great panel.